Welcome back to His Fire for Me. I'm Jesse, and this is my wife Kim. And today we are on Chapter 5 of the book, The Art of Frugal Hedonism. If this is your first episode, feel free to watch it, and if you enjoyed it, check out chapters 1 through 4, as I think you'll like them also. Kim, what's Chapter 5 bringing us today?
All right. So in The Art of Frugal Hedonism by Annie Razor Rowland with Adam Grubb, we are on Chapter 5, which is Hate Waste. As far as green furry things lurking in trash cans go, Oscar the Grouch is quite endearing in our opinion, but he isn't the only good thing you can find in a bin. Australians throw out 20% of all food brought home. That's one grocery bag in 5. Almost as much, again, is wasted by processors and retailers before it even reaches the consumer. Likewise, a staggering 40% of all food grown or imported into the U.S. is dumped. And it's not just food we're throwing away. In the U.S., for instance, around 150 million tons of unrecycled municipal waste is collected every year. Rather than come up with a visualization based on the equivalent length of blue whales lined up end to end, can we just say this is a freaking lot? Nature, which your authors are actually incredibly fond of despite mosquitoes and leeches and those hot, gritty winds you get in late summer, has no concept of waste. Human societies, until very recently, haven't had much concept of waste. Even our grandparents' generation hardly threw away a thing, all of which shows the whole business up as rather embarrassingly unnecessary. Then came bottled water, disposable cutlery, single-portion cheese and cracker snack packs, bread and milk so cheap that half of it is left to go moldy, particle board furniture, technology designed to become obsolete every year, and clothes that the culture police tell us have done the same. Our grandparents have probably turned up the Barry Manilow in heaven to block out the grunting of all those overworked garbage trucks down below. Don't be blue, gentle reader. By developing an allergy to wastefulness, you can not only diminish your role in this bizarre state of affairs, but save a surprising wallop of money, too. We have personally noticed that amongst our lower-income friends, the degree to which they abhor waste is one of the biggest factors in determining whether they have any cash left at the end of the week or not. There are 3 important phases to this business of becoming a non-waster. Firstly, look at anything you're about to buy and assess if it has high potential to become waste. Really badly made anything, for instance. A new kind of moisturizer or jam just to try it, despite the fact that you already have plenty of moisturizer or jam. Single-use anything. Another pair of black pants in a slightly different cut from the 5 pairs you already have. Really deeply, in fashion, anything. You've likely heard the following advice before, but given that so many of us still forget to do it, here goes. When you're food shopping, check what you already have before you go. This isn't just about avoiding ending up with 3 jars of mayonnaise in the fridge. It's about buying stuff to complement the food you've already got. If that includes a rapidly withering eggplant and some feta cheese that needs using, plus a few flatbreads in the freezer and rosemary in the garden, you might add garlic and tomato paste to your shopping list so you can turn it all into pizza. If you have to buy more than you need of something, put half of it in the freezer or knock on your neighbor's door and ask if they'd like the rest. If you only want a little of something and know you're likely to let the rest pine in the pantry, consider not getting it at all. Secondly, look at anything you are about to throw away and assess its potential to be useful. If it might be valuable to someone, find somewhere to donate it to or put the word out on the village grapevine that it's going spare. Perhaps by using one of the excellent websites that exist for advertising such things. Try having a clothes swap evening with friends. They can be seriously fun, and everyone walks away with more stuff they like and less stuff they don't. Worn-out clothes can go into a rag bag and be used for cleaning or making stuff. Jars get washed and used for the kind of things jars are useful for. Older vegetables make soup. Soured milk makes pancakes, the best pancakes, in fact. Old fruit has any bad bits cut off and is stewed. Running with our jam motif, don't throw away the jar with the final centimeter of sticky goodness still in it. Swill a little warm water in there to loosen it up and add it to that fruit while it's stewing. Then put it on their pancakes. Yeah, smidgens of leftover curry or stir fry can be added to rice with a few extra veggies and a fried egg and abracadabra dinner. Hard ends of bread can be cut into cubes, toasted, and thrown into salads, soups, or pasta. Where one man gazes blankly and sees nothing of value, a frugal hedonist sees the makings of a fine supper. Our third waste-busting strategy isn't for everyone, but it will save you the most money. Do your shopping in the waste stream. Your authors choose to get much of what we need from what we hereby fondly dub the grand emporium of affluent culture's discarded bounty. If you keep your eyes peeled and have the patience to wait for what you want, furniture, electrical equipment, and building materials can generally all be scavenged from the piles people leave outside their houses or from tip shops and junkyards. What isn't available there can be often sourced courtesy of a friend with a spare or old one that they don't use. This strategy doesn't always result in the best quality of gear, though it can equally land you with some real gems, but it's a little like an ethical and financial get-out-of-jail-free card. If something was destined to become waste before you rescued it, you don't have to worry about the conditions under which it was made, or whether it is a worthy investment. What's more, you can simply put it back out on the street if a better one comes along. What do you think so far?
Yeah, I think they definitely go to a bit of an extreme for me, but we kind of were just discussing this before we started filming with my dad, as he is getting ready to move and handing over some of his tools that he no longer needs and has accumulated over the years. So, and I mentioned to him that we have a bit of a problem with accepting everything somebody else doesn't want. And I think it can definitely be good. I think we've gotten a lot of good things and saved a lot of money by doing it. And it can also get to be a bit of a hoarding problem if you're not careful with it. So we were just out at a friend's house the other day, and they had a pile of stuff going to the Goodwill, and said, "Hey, do you guys want to look through it before we take it to the Goodwill and see if there's anything you'd like to keep?" And so he said, "Sure." We looked through it, and Kim found a few items. I'll let her talk about what she found, and I found a camera in there that was an old film camera that was an expensive camera at the time and had a nice expensive lens that went with it and all that. And I knew that I was looking to upgrade my camera and didn't know if this particular lens would work with the new camera or not. I know that you can get adapters and stuff for older lenses, so I thought, you know what, before we send it to Goodwill, let's bring it home. When my camera comes, I'll try it out. If it works, great. If it doesn't, and I can't get rid of it, then I'll just take it down to Goodwill and maybe somebody else can find it there and make use of it. So, and it turned out that that particular lens wasn't any good for my camera, but there was a tripod that I was able to use. There was some lens filters that I was able to use with my new lens that I have, or with my new camera that I have, and the lens itself was worth about $50 online. So we're going to go ahead and sell that lens and make that $50 and put it towards something that we might need to purchase. So just things that people are looking to get rid of and whatnot, and who knows when there's some value there. So what did you find in that pile?
I don't feel like I found anything that was too exceptional, but we do know two people that happen to be very good at hating waste. We live with them, in fact. They are my sister and brother-in-law, and they live in the downstairs portion of the house that we all live in. And they, when we moved here, they were telling us kind of the origin of where they got the different things that they have in their house. And they have our old couch, which we actually got from someone else that was upgrading their couch. They have a table that was found at a garage sale, a TV stand that I think we found for free on the side of the road. My parents give them things. His parents give them things. They seem to be, like, if things are trickling down, right, they're kind of right down here before things get completely worn out. And they take them and they give them new life, and they really use them and relish them. And so it saved them quite a bit of money. They're in their mid-20s, and I don't think they've bought a new piece of furniture or much of anything.
No, they've been very good at utilizing what others may no longer need and just being okay with whatever that item might be and not feeling the need to spend the money on it. So I do commend them in their ability to do that. So.
Yeah. We've mostly been talking about sort of material goods, but I do think that they spend a little bit of time in here about talking about food and food waste. I know for us, we're not always the best with food and food waste, although we are pretty avid leftover eaters. Sometimes I'll make something up and we'll eat it for dinner, and then the leftovers will be something that Jesse or I take for lunches with us when we go to work. One thing that's helpful with leftovers is we do have 3 dogs that really love to eat human food. And so even though that's not the bulk of their diet, I do sometimes augment their meals with a little bit of tasty leftover snacks. I also just recently started making my own oat milk, which I do from time to time. I don't like the oat milk on cereals necessarily, but in recipes it works really well. And so you take oats, and then I'm using an old t-shirt actually that we cleaned and repurposed, and then I'm making oat milk, and it leaves kind of this pulpy residue behind that I found if you put with a little bit of sugar and raisins, it turns into an oatmeal cookie. So from, half a cup or a cup of oats, I'm able to make oat milk and cookies to dip in my oat milk, so it's pretty handy.
Nice.
Yeah. But they do have another section here that I thought we could read. How low can you go? Do the frugal limbo. Warning. Several situations mentioned in the following text involve operating outside of standard supply channels. If you're going to do this, it's incredibly important to be respectful of your sources and not to wreck things for other people who might also be using them. This usually means don't leave a mess, don't take everything for yourself, and be polite to anyone who questions what you're doing. The shameless bird gets the worm. If you are prepared to do away with the "but what will people think" factor, the opportunities for meeting life's needs via stuff that would otherwise go to waste really unfolds. Your authors think waste is dumb and being wily is fun, so we tend to throw pride out the window and just get in there. We've rescued banquets of quality food from dumpsters, not to mention so many cases of beer that we've lost count. We've eaten excellent roadkill, gross, after inspecting it for freshness and lack of disease. We've shoveled up sacks of dried pigeon droppings from under bridges, some of the finest fertilizer to ever grace an asparagus patch. We've collected massive swags of fallen chestnuts from roadside plantings, resulting in enough of a stash in the freezer that we ate roasted chestnuts right through winter. We have a friend who collects the compostable waste from a local organic shop so that the shop saves on disposing of it and he gets to use it in his garden. In gratitude, they now also give him their soon-to-expire dairy products, and he gives away whatever he can't use. We have another friend who jumps in at the end of any event where all the leftover delicacies are about to be tipped into the bin, bags them up nicely, and makes sure everyone takes some home. Annie's mom tucks the paper napkins that always accompany her morning coffee into her handbag to use as tissues. Everyone's boundaries are different, and we're not suggesting that you do things that disgust or embarrass you, but it's worth casting your eye about for unappreciated resources that you do feel comfortable redirecting, because it's quite a buzz to see potential where there was presumed to be none. We think of this skill as seeing beyond prescribed purpose, and it can mean seeing some fallen fruit as breakfast, a paper napkin as a potential tissue, or even an illness as a chance to read some good books. It's a fabulous talent to develop because it frees you from presuming that a need can only be met by a product marketed for that purpose. Plus, it certainly keeps things more interesting. The part that resonated with me in that particular section was finding like fallen fruit or different types of like products. So here in Bremerton, there's actually a lot of fruit trees all over that were once utilized and now no one eats off of them. And so there's certain spots here that I know I can go get tasty plums during plum season. Oftentimes if you see a fruit tree and it hasn't been manned and nobody's actively picking from it, you can ask the owner if you can pick some of that as well. And there's an organization here that's called Kitsap Harvest that allows you to kind of make connections with people who have fruit trees or vegetable patches that aren't being attended, and just ask if they would be fine with you to harvest those things and give them to people that need it, and then you keep a little portion for yourself. So it's kind of fun to do a little bit of foraging for fruits that are in your area that are on trees that aren't being picked from.
Yeah, I think we've become a bit lazy in society, or maybe we're just filled our days so busy that we choose not to make time for doing stuff like picking fruit. And making stuff from that fruit. So we'll, rather than spend the hour going out and picking the fruit and doing something with it, we'll spend 5-10 minutes stopping at the store on the way home, buy it, and now we don't have to deal with that, right? So I think it's definitely something that if we just keep our eyes open and kind of aware of what's around us, if we see that, hey, these people's fruit tree is always dropping on the ground and they're never harvesting their fruit, then I'm guessing you could knock on their door and they wouldn't care if you picked it up, because now they don't have to clean it up off the ground. Because that's the next step, is they can't just leave it there. It's going to turn into rotten fruit, which stinks. So they don't care, obviously, about the fruit. So they'd probably be excited to hear that someone's going to make use of it. So I think it's definitely something big. Something else I remember they mentioned in there was trading clothing. And I think that it's definitely something that I've noticed in some of the Facebook groups around us, that people will do like trading of clothing bins, where you'll take a bin, you'll look through it, see if there's anything you need, and look through your own closet and see if there's any items that you don't need, and put it back in the bin and hand it off to the next person in line. So that was something, I don't know if Kim, you can talk more about that, as you've had a little more experience with it, but something that's in one of our Facebook groups locally, and if it's not already started, maybe you can be the one to start
it. Yeah, I think it's a different spin on buying clothing secondhand, is finding a way to swap it or gift it to other people in a way. My sister, again, the one who's really good at getting free things, she's part of that group, and so she'll actually stop by someone's home, and it's the bin's usually left out on the porch, and she brings it home and we look through it and we pull out anything we want, and then anything that we have that we would normally just take to a thrift store or maybe consign ourselves, if we don't want to go to that effort, we'll just fold it and put it nicely in the bin and then leave it out on the porch, and the next person comes and picks it up. So but I also think that there is the potential sometimes to find free clothes or free items. I remember driving along a street right near here, and there was a really nice looking bookshelf outside, and I knew that someone that I know that works at a nonprofit was just talking about needing a bookshelf for her office. And so I loaded it in the car and I took it to the nonprofit, and I was able to give it a new home there. And then actually, you might wonder, being a June day, why am I wearing this knit beanie on my
Oh,
head?
yes, I almost forgot about it. Yeah, why don't you tell the story of the beanie?
So on the trail that's near where we live, I was hiking, and several days in a row, I saw this beanie lying on the side of the trail. The first day, I actually just picked it up and draped it right there on a tree so it wouldn't just collect all of the rainwater that was falling down. But by the third time passing it, I realized that maybe no one was coming back for this beanie, and so I actually brought it home and I washed it a couple of times, and now it's one of the my favorite wintertime items to wear. It has this little hole in the back for my ponytail to come through, and I really like it. It's very comfortable. So
seems very helpful for a female's long hair to be able to poke it through the hole on the back there.
it is.
So, but yes, very stylish free beanie. So
definitely don't assume that if you find clothing on the side of the road, no one's coming back for it. I know sometimes homeless folks will actually put all of their belongings together, and so I wanted to be mindful that I wasn't stealing from someone who actually really needed this hat or was coming back for it. But if you pick something up and you hang it up and leave it there for a bit and no one claims it and it's your size, I feel like wash it a couple of times and now it's yours.
Yeah. So what kind of cool things have you guys been able to repurpose, or are you big on leftovers and, bulk cooking food and making sure you eat it all? Or do you find that taking the time to do that kind of stuff is not something that you're interested in doing? So leave those comments below, and we'd love to hear from you guys and what you guys find to be frugal with. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.